Hello and welcome to the NASCussion, where we have intelligent debate on various topics within the world of NASCAR. I'm John Cittadino. I'm joined here by James Silverfox, Richard Johnson, and Dillon Young. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Herpetitis.
Well,
Now, the four of us today are going to be debating the topic concerning Jimmie Johnson. Now, Jimmie Johnson, who has won his 6th championship, 5 of those championships were in a row. He's being compared to some of the greats like Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt. We're here to discuss whether that's an accurate claim or not. And I will open the floor to one of you if you would like to go.
Let's start with Dylan because he's the one that's going to be yelling a lot. So I was going to get the most vocal one out of the way.
Let's see. I can see why people are comparing him because Richard Petty, Dale Earnhardt, they won 7 championships and Johnson's at number 6. I can somewhat see why they're doing that, number one. Number two, honestly, I really don't think so. Even though Johnson's won 6, it's just, even though I never cared for Johnson, he wasn't my cup of tea or something as a driver. Just, yes, I know there's people that would tell me about that, Lama Sosnowski, where they would backlash at me about it, but, it's me, though. I never cared for Johnson, but I don't think so. No, it's not me.
I agree with Dylan in that, Johnson is a great driver. I will give him that, but I feel compared to everyone else, I think he's kind of going on the system that he's running with, because he's been around throughout the entirety of the chase. He's only been driving for 3 years before the chase, and even so, one of those was a part-time schedule. So, all of his championships and wins have mainly been during the chase.
Not entirely, but...
the others, they had a more of a challenge to get to the top, I feel.
I can agree with that one there with John right there. That's totally true.
Great. All right, I'll take to the floor, I guess. I think Jimmie Johnson's one of the greatest of all times in this generation. Dale Earnhardt Sr. is probably the greatest of his generation. Richard Petty was the greatest of his generation. And that's the key word, generation. NASCAR changes, the competition changes, everything changes. So Johnson's the greatest of this era, I think. Senior's the best of his era. Richard Petty's the best of his era. So Johnson is definitely probably one of the greatest drivers of all time if he's probably one of the greatest of all time in a single era. So it's like... And you can't, say Johnson doesn't deserve championships, and you can't say that all of his wins were flukes, which they weren't. It's just the fact, I just really think Johnson's really overhated for actually being good at his job, which is normal for a human being. You're in an office, just imagine, okay, just work with me here. You're in an office, and you have this guy who's always good at his job, and boss likes him over you, and of course you're not going to like him unless he's your friend, but then you may still feel some kind of envy. So it's it's no different. People hate the Miami Heat because of all the hype they get and how much people like them. Same for the Alabama. Same for sometimes the Broncos or the Patriots. It's normal. This happens in every single sport to the point where Johnson is meant to be hated. Johnson just put himself up because he does so well. He risks himself being hated. That's why Gordon was hated by senior fans because he was good and sometimes better than him. That's how sometimes Gordon fans didn't like Senior either because Senior was better than him sometimes. It's just normal, and people just don't know. Is Johnson not deserve anything? I've seen death threats towards him. I've seen people he didn't deserve any single one of the championships. It's just no.
I think that goes a little too far. I don't like Johnson as a racing fan, not because of him winning all the time, though I think it has probably a little bit to do with it. Mostly because I just don't like the person behind the wheel. I'm just not particularly keen on his personality, but I feel Richard Petty, when he was driving, the way they did things it was your points throughout the entire year is what is your final standings. When Dale Earnhardt drove, it was your points throughout the year that told to your final standing. When Johnson won his championships, it was the points in the last 10 races give you the championship. And I feel the fact that I feel most of his wins seem to come during the chase. He tends to do much better during the chase, and based on the JSki.com report of who would be the winner if there was not a chase, Johnson would only be at 3 championships, which would be an impressive feat, but it would not be like at this sort of level. Like, the championship would have changed multiple times.
Yeah, I agree with John about that too, because the only other people, first off, that won a chase that wasn't named from Jimmie Johnson were Kurt Busch, Tony Stewart, and Brad Keselowski, which were the luckiest of the drivers that even won a championship. And then you look at the chase, and then you look at Johnson, who won the 5 years in a row from 06 to 2010, and then again in 2013. It's just, he basically stepped it up a notch when it came to the chase. In the regular season, he just made sure he stayed in the top 10 and just chilled. And then when the chase came, go time.
Well, that's the difference, though. Like, people saying that without the chase, he wouldn't be as great as he was. But here's the thing. The chase is there. Oh, mind blown. The chase is there. If drivers can't be good in the chase as well in the whole entire season, then they don't deserve to be champion. Johnson has done that 6 times, actually. He's been good in the chase. He's been good this regular season. I mean, come on. He wins, like, on average 5 races, like, every year. You don't see many drivers nowadays do that, besides Kansas, who did that last year. But it's not often that you see a driver do that. And I think Johnson is definitely going to pass Senior. He's definitely going to pass Gordon in wins, for sure. I mean, Johnson still has, like, at least another 10 years left in him. I mean, he's like, close to 40 or around that range. So it's like, I see Johnson around for a little long while, so he still has a lot of records to break.
Yeah, James, I think for the Kenseth thing, I think Kenseth won, 6 or 7 this year. I think he won 6.
I think he won 6. I know he
did really well.
He did great. I mean, I was expecting him to actually start sucking a tiny bit. But he completely surprised me.
I want to bring up what you said. You said he's good at the chase, and the chase exists. Yes, I am aware the chase exists, and that he's good at the chase. But the issue is, I don't feel being good at the chase is as impressive as being good all season long.
Well, that's the thing, though. Johnson does that, too.
But it's not every single year he does that.
Like
we said, his championships, if there was no chase, if they just calculated where he finished all year, he would only be a 3-time champion, which is good. I'm not arguing that he's a terrible driver. I just don't think he's a legendary driver, because I feel he's found a way to work out this system that requires less races to master. Also, if you take a look at the races near the end, it's mostly 1.5-mile courses. The only exceptions are Talladega, Martinsville, and you can give Dover a technicality, but I don't feel it runs like a short track.
Dover's not a short track anymore.
It barely runs like a short track at all.
It's not a short track anymore.
So it's
not these cars.
Don't forget about Daytona too.
Well, Daytona's not in the chase.
No, it's not in the chase.
Well, oh yeah, that's right. I didn't hear Chase Park, but yeah.
My God.
Yeah, I mean,
so
Johnson is good.
Yeah.
Johnson's a master at that one particular type of track. Though he can win on the other ones, his majority of wins come there, and that's what the chase is made up of. It's not really I don't think it's like a big deal that Johnson wins a championship, because the means of getting to that championship are not as difficult as some of the other people he's up there with.
Hey, John, you know how you mentioned tracks right there, like you mentioned in the chase and stuff, but you look at every track that Johnson's raced on for pretty much the years he won the championship, and even the last 3 years, even the years he didn't win a championship, like from that time there. Johnson's done really well. His average is just incredible. His DNFs are small, but
very low. I think he only had like 1 or 2 DNFs last year.
Yeah, he does have a low DNF count.
He knows how to keep his car clean on the outside.
And anytime those DNFs happen, those very few DNFs are either an engine failure or he crashed out. But the point, what I'm saying is, though, is that Johnson, most of the tracks that he's been on, he's always been really good. However, the only 2 road courses we go to, I don't even see Johnson do that well in those. But other than that, he does.
He has one at the Glen, but
he won at Sonoma, I think a couple years ago. Remember when Ambrose screwed up
Yeah.
I think he won that one.
Yeah, he has won at the road courses, but it's not like a guarantee. It's usually not his.
Isn't the one track he hasn't won at isn't it like Talladega and?
No, he won.
No, it's not Talladega, Michigan.
Yeah, which is not the Hendrick Motorsports track.
That's becoming everyone's favorite track because Jonathan sucks at it.
And Junior wins it.
Yeah, and Junior wins it. So Junior's next win's gonna be in 2016.
The other thing in discussion, basically, that people are bringing this up mainly, would have to be basically because when Dale Earnhardt, for half of his career and most of Richard Petty's career, when they were driving the cars, the setups, everything was completely a different game. And that's why I think they're discussing that Johnson may be up there in the first place, because the cars are a lot more even now. Unlike back then, you had Petty, who had all these tactics where he had more gas, he had a faster car, all these things that gave him an edge. That's why he's won 200 times.
I mean, are the cars really more even though, Richard? Look at
that's a good question, actually.
Look at Johnson's car compared to most of the field. If you looked at this season, it was mostly a 2-car race. No one really had when Johnson was in the lead. Usually, no one had anything for him. And you can obviously tell with Hendrick Motorsports, they put a lot more into the Johnson car than the other 3 machines.
Well, because when you have a championship driver, of course you're going to give him the championship equipment.
True.
No question about it.
True, but you also have another championship driver that can also do good in the equipment. Also, you have a fan favorite driver that people like, dude, we want him to win a championship. I mean, I can understand allocating your resources a bit, but I feel it's way too skewed.
I think it's going to change because once Chase Elliott comes in, you can definitely tell that equipment's going to start heading towards some of that Johnson stuff.
Yeah, that's actually a good question because I mean, yes, it is a little bit closer in reality, but
plus we won't even know. I don't think we'll ever know what happens if they ever switch the equipment around. Like, what if they gave Gordon Johnson's equipment? What if Gordon still sucked in that? What if they gave Junior that and Junior still didn't perform in that? Heck, we don't even know if it's the real equipment.
Yeah, I mean,
sometimes it's Johnson actually being good.
That's not a guarantee, but I do feel it's a big portion of it that he has a car that's also much better than a lot of other teams. It's not. I don't think it's that close in the spectrum of things.
Yeah, I have to actually agree there. Although it isn't completely different, they have the edge. They put more time into their car.
Like I said, it all depends on the era.
Yes.
I mean,
you can't compare eras when they're completely different.
Look at the technology. Hendrick Motorsports technology has won every championship from 2005 to now, with the exception of Brad Keselowski winning that one year for Penske, who also has a good team.
And Stewart was on Hendrick equipment technically, so I guess
that's why I mention it, because Stewart won twice.
Yeah.
And don't forget too that all those times that Gordon's won championship and Johnson, basically they've won 10 championships in about 20 years, which is incredible.
That's pretty impressive. I mean, Hendrick's got freaking money.
Yeah, I think actually more of the impressiveness with Johnson winning the championships is not necessarily with Johnson, but with Hendrick in putting together a good team. Well, I mean, an extraordinarily great team.
And here's another thing too, John. Between Gordon and Johnson, they've had combined with Hendrick, they got a total of over 150 wins, nearly.
Yeah, I can see them getting 300 and within the next 10 to 15 years.
If you look at it,
incredible. Gordon's won about nearly 100. He's close there. I think he's in the 80s.
Late 80s, I feel. So
he's like on 57, isn't he?
50s or 60s. So
Casey Kane and Dale Jr. are both in their 20s, I believe.
And then
yeah.
But Gordon and Johnson, I know, I'm saying 150, and then you add Kane and Jr., they'll probably be about near 200. So
you can't factor in all of Kane and Earnhardt because they were not on Hendrick all their career. Kane was on Abraham and Red Bull. And,
Kane was very unlucky last year.
He had a horrible year. It was a bad year for Hendrick drivers that weren't Jimmie Johnson.
Well, Gordon did win.
He did win a race, but that was the struggle.
Still, I mean, Junior was consistent though. You He just doesn't want him.
Yeah.
It's like he doesn't want to win, but yet he wants to be up in the front.
Exactly. I've even asked the junior fan too before I go. I could ask you another question. Just honesty. Don't get mad at me about what I'm saying, but just me asking you. Do you even think Junior tries to winning? And that junior fan told me, I don't think he does. I don't think he's trying to win. I guess he's just trying to get a good finish. That's all what it is. It's like he gave up on winning.
Maybe he thinks that if he is consistent enough, he'll beat Johnson somehow.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe, I mean, let's think about this. Johnson's very consistent. Junior is probably thinking, I should probably be consistent, be able to win a championship. Nope. Close, but nope.
You got to get a win. That's just how it is.
You got to start winning some shit.
Yeah.
Maybe that beard.
You can also be in a tiebreaker too, and then you can end up losing a tiebreaker on wins. Yeah, you may have advantage on top 5s and top 10s, but you didn't get wins.
And Edwards and Ford fans learned that the hard way.
And that's the thing. Junior has finished second, 7 times just in the chase?
I think so.
Around there? And hasn't won. I mean,
and look who eventually won those races too. Kenseth or Johnson.
Yep, he always comes so short because of Kenseth and Johnson. Part of that's probably gear. When Junior has a good car, like in the Homestead race, he would have won that race.
It's like some of the
Kenseth had to do what he did, and that's just how it went.
It's like some of the Hendrick cars had their own personal rivalry with other drivers. Like Kane couldn't beat Kenseth 3 times last season, and then Gordon just couldn't get over luck.
I think the issue with Gordon isn't the equipment nor the driving ability. I think he's just the unluckiest man in the universe.
Yeah, and his crew chief's a fucking idiot.
Right? Yeah.
Like Gordon's the only driver that, when on track, a sinkhole will just open up and engulf only his vehicle.
Gordon would have won 5 times last season had his crew chief not been an idiot. I saw so calculate, he actually would have had 5 wins last season if nothing had gone.
He would have had over 90 wins. Almost. He would have probably got.
Yeah, he would be on a roll at the moment.
Same with the season before and the season before
Hendrick's got the best program in NASCAR.
It's ever since 2007, after losing a championship, Gordon's just been really on a downfall.
I mean, he could have had 100 wins by now.
I want to put it back on topic and just go back to the Hendrick Motorsports team thing. Look at some of the other top teams compared to Hendrick. I mean, Penske,
Joe Gibbs,
Roush,
Childress.
They're good teams, but
none
of them seem like anything that could come close. Joe Gibbs has been the closest to the Hendrick program, and even that is not the best since Joe Gibbs hasn't won since 2005.
With Stewart.
Tony Stewart.
And
Stewart's gone.
Yeah. What about 07?
That was Johnson.
It was Johnson, yeah.
05, Tony Stewart won, but that was for Gibbs, not his own team.
Oh, no, I was thinking of it. I thought Stewart won 2 championships.
He did.
Yeah, he had. I thought he has 3.
Yeah, he's a 3-time champion. 2002,
yeah, he won
2005. Yeah, he won 2002 and 2005 with Gibbs.
Yeah, that was
then 2011.
Yeah, then 11 with his own separate team. Also, Joe Gibbs won the championship in 2000 with Bobby Labonte.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't forget about that one.
Hart's driver.
But I mean, after 2005, Joe Gibbs has not been close to a championship except with Kenseth this year, I feel.
Yeah, Kenseth was the closest for Joe Gibbs in years.
Kyle Busch occasionally was
Kyle
close.
Busch, came close a few good times as well. Another company you really want to say that's pretty good, and I had it and I lost it for the top of my head. Who was it? Not Roush.
Not Childress.
I had it and lost it. Oh, crap.
Stewart House?
Well, yeah, Stewart House, but I had it and lost it. Oh, man.
Front Row Racing?
Yeah, right.
I mean, a lot of people hated Senior back in the day, and he after he died, that's when people actually started to respect him a little more.
Yeah.
That's probably going to happen with Johnson once he retires. People are actually going to start liking him and respecting him for what he did once he's gone, because they realize that they need someone new to go against.
Yeah. I can honestly say that before Harvick retired, it was RCR that I was thinking of, because Harvick was doing really well with there, and then Menard had a good, decent year and stuff. Burton was starting to struggle and stuff, and then whoever raced in the 33 was doing meh. So RCR was somewhat up there.
You know what I think the issue with RCR is? all the eggs are in one basket, and that's Kevin Harvick, I feel.
Yeah, that's
and now
true.
It's all gonna be in the basket of Austin Dillon because their 31 car is completely ineffective. It cannot do anything.
Jeff Burton left the team, so
yeah, I mean Jeff Burton's gone. They're gonna have Ryan Newman, and as we said in the previous NASCussion, we do not think Newman's going to do well in the 31 car. So,
he is doing the 31. I didn't hear the
31. Yes, and I mean, the 31 car is a completely ineffectual car. The 27 can get a top 10 finish, but there's no way it can go to victory lane other than that one time at Indianapolis.
Yeah, which was a miracle win.
That was a miracle. He beat Jeff Gordon, who
barely.
He would have passed him in like 2 laps because Gordon was catching up. But Menard was able to get himself out front and win that race, and I was so happy about that, despite being a Gordon fan, because I really wanted to see Paul Menard go to victory lane for something. And then there's the 29 car, which is their one good vehicle. But even so, that car is still not good enough to face up against Johnson.
Paul Menard!
I feel like RCR is just like falling down the drain, and who knows how the 3 will do with Austin Dillon. But if Austin can prove himself this season, then there's going to be a few people that are going to probably change their minds. So who knows about that?
Speaking of the 3, I want to go back to Dale Earnhardt. I want to go back to him in his career. Now, I am not an Earnhardt fan per se. I didn't hate the guy, but I'm not like a big Earnhardt. Whoa, he's my favorite ever. But you have to admit, despite like the dirty driving, he is quite the wheelman. Like at that time, it wasn't a technical sport as much. It was a driver's sport. Like 80s, 90s, it was more driver. The 2000s when they started getting all like heavy tech with it. So he was able to pull off all these wins and championships by just being aggressive and running it to his fullest. Richard Petty, he was also a great wheelman, though he may have had a bit of a technological advance since Maurice Petty was a genius.
Yep. Yeah, and once the competition got up, he started to suck.
Yeah, I mean, like, the issue with Richard Petty is he has 200 wins, but his career was really long. And he's lost more races than won by a long shot. His win percentage is very low. It's just that he's been around long enough, and he's had that car, and he was able to win a lot.
Considering that the last 15 years of his career, he only won a matter maybe 10 times. I mean,
his last win was 84.
Yeah.
84 was the last time he won a race. He retired
in 92. I think it's just the fact that he just wanted to keep running. I mean, that's part of that.
I mean, I can understand it, but
still, I agree with you there. For the most part.
I want to throw another name into this hat. David Pearson.
Oh, yeah.
David Pearson.
Yep. That is a good idea.
Compare Johnson to Pearson. Like, Pearson only ran 2 full schedules. 2 years he ran the full schedule. I think, did he win the championship those 2 years?
I believe so, right?
Here, I'll look up his driver's stats.
I'm looking it up.
I'll check too, just so I know what we're talking about. Well, I can't remember.
I'm going to racingreference.com, by the way. Let's see, where is he?
1969 Grand National Series champion.
69, he ran all but 3 races. He won 11 races that year, 42 top 5 finishes, 44 top 10s. It was a longer schedule, which in a way is a little more grueling.
That's true.
Pearson's like second most wins, isn't he?
Yeah, he has 105.
Yeah, that's 105.
Yeah, I'm looking at these stats. He only failed to qualify for a race twice.
Jeff Gordon next year. The same thing.
But I mean, looking at this schedule, most of these years he did not run many races. Or like less than half the schedule. And the years he did run the full schedule, he did really well.
He won 3 championships looking at this, and he didn't even run all the races for all 3 of those.
What were the years?
66, 68, and 69.
Yep, and those were his high winning years of 15, 16, and 11 wins.
Yep.
And he ran the full schedule those years. But then some years, like in 72, he ran 17 of 31, won 6 races. Another year, he missed 10 events, got 11 wins. Like, imagine if he had run the full schedule. He could have potentially won so many championships.
He would have, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, once the 80s happened, he tapered off. But by then, he was getting older. He was like 40s. He was in his late 40s.
Early 30s. He was up in the 50s.
And even then, he wasn't done because he won a nationwide series race in 82.
Yeah, and I mean...
just running for the lulz.
Pretty much here. Even to the end of his career, he ran 2 races in 86. He was 51, and he still got a top 10. So, he still was pretty good. But he just stopped, but... That's why he's in discussion for being better than even Earnhardt, those guys.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, 86, he was 51, only ran 2 races, and one of them was a top 10.
Yeah, 51 years old.
It's
incredible.
His
average start was 11th, and his average finish was 23rd. That's pretty good for running 2 races.
Indeed. Up till 77, his average finish is under 10th, if not under top 5 even at times.
I'm also trying to see what his because this side it displays it kind of weirdly, in that it displays the amount of races he finished rather than the DNFs.
Yeah.
So he's finished 64% of all of his races, which is really good, especially in those days when those cars would just explode on impact. But yeah, I mean, like. Going back to Johnson, I mean, I don't feel he stacks up to Pearson at all.
No, not yet.
Like, I don't think he stacks up to Pearson or Petty, and definitely not Earnhardt. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think he stacks up to those 3. He might stack up to Gordon. Because
there's still plenty of years left. Right now he does.
Gordon's a 4-time champion, 88 wins. Great driver. Johnson 6 championships, 66 wins. I mean, that's starting to get closer. He would be there yet, but like I don't see him as like I wouldn't be considering him a legend just yet.
I think he's a legend.
He's near.
Legend killer.
But we don't know yet. It's at this point from what we're looking at is how he's doing. He's not there yet. The chances of him doing so with how he's doing is pretty high, but he's not there yet.
You know what? It would take in terms of championships for me to consider him a legend. Because of the chase, I feel it's easier to win a championship. If he gets into the double-digit championships, then I'll consider him a legend.
I'd have to agree with John on that one. I'd have to say double digits too, probably like 10 or 11.
He's got to get 10 championships at least for me to consider him a legend. Because I feel the chase is much easier to win.
It's 10 races. It's 10 races to prove yourself out, and it's not a whole 36 race season.
Or in some cases, like 40 or 50 or 60.
Pearson ran hundreds of races to win his championships, and he didn't even race them all some seasons just to get them. So, I
just don't think he deserves a hate idiots.
I can see people not hating him for his wins. I just don't care for him because of it's a personality standpoint. The way he carries himself, the way he acts on track, especially towards other competitors, I don't particularly care for him.
Well, I think with how well he's done, I think he has a right to be a cocky douchebag.
Yeah, I mean, like the thing that
he's earned to be that way.
I think he's over competitive. Like, if you see his post-race interviews after he wins a race, he just is kind of, like, smug about it. But if he loses or finishes, like, second, he will just, like, be completely dejected, will, like, I've seen him occasionally, like, refuse interviews or just, like, be close to, like, whipping out the noose and just ending it. Like, I don't like that kind of attitude towards it. Like, if you talk to some of the other people, like, Gordon is accomplished. He's been in victory lane a lot.
Well, let's think about it for a second. Would you interview a king after losing a war?
Good point.
I can understand if it's for a championship. I can understand him.
If Hitler lost the war and he still lived, would you interview him? I don't think so.
But like, if you interview like a Jeff Gordon, I mean, he's a 4-time champion. He's got a lot of championships, a lot of wins, a lot of success. He still is grateful for just his getting a top 10, getting a top 5. I've even seen him be grateful if he didn't finish too well. He says, thank you for the team for bringing out the effort.
Well, he's got a lifetime contract with Hendrick, and he owns part of the company.
Yeah, but, I mean, though we also own...
If I was sucking, I'd be happy to have that.
I just feel other
Plus,
drivers
he's
are
made so
happy.
much money from Hendrick, too, and, you know, all the money he's accomplished.
Yeah, but I feel Johnson's accomplished about as much. And he is just not as good. That's what I've got to say about that.
I think people just need to lay off him and accept that he's a good driver. And he deserves his wins.
So we talked about all of the stats, comparing him to some of the other greats. Is there anything else we need to add here? Any other like greats we need to compare him to?
Nothing I can think of.
I think we should compare him to a great James Silverfox.
We're not comparing.
What about maybe Darrell Waltrip?
You know your ass.
Let's compare Richard and Jimmie Johnson, Utica Rallycross. Here we go.
We'll leave that out there because that has nothing to do with NASCAR.
I know.
Yeah. Maybe Darrell Waltrip. I don't know. Let me actually look him up.
Yeah, look at the
That's better than Waltrip.
Yeah, you gotta look at guys like Darrell Waltrip and Bobby Allison. They have plenty of success.
Yeah, I mean they do have higher win counts. They do have higher win counts than Jimmie.
They do.
Well, then again, that was a different era.
Yeah, but it's the same era as Dale Earnhardt, which is why I consider an era that was harder to win than.
Yeah, they have more wins than Earnhardt.
Sort of.
Before the chase was a lot harder, which made a lot of people earn respect for that driver. People who win championships in the chase really don't deserve as much as respect.
I think they should make the chase harder, so like the points gaps are bigger.
What I like about Waltrip, like David Pearson. I mean, unlike Pearson, he raced all the races, but his consistency, it's not as good as Pearson's. But throughout his age, he continued to be as successful as Pearson in top 5s, top 10s, even though he might have raced more. Looking at Waltrip's stats, started in 72. He only ran 5 races in 72, and he was already top 5ing. But he raced all the way till 2000, and pretty much till then, he continued to be as successful as he did.
And I want to point something out here. I mean, no one really knows Waltrip for his racing in the 70s.
They don't.
I mean, no one really considers him. But like everyone, like once 1980 happened, he was starting to become a factor. But if you look at it, I mean, he was winning races in 75 and 76.
Yeah, and by 77, he was winning 6-7 races apiece, which I don't see why that wouldn't be noticeable to that point. That's why I'm confused.
81 and 82, 12 wins on a 30-race schedule.
He won 3 championships. He beat Bill Elliott out in 85 because of consistency. Bill Elliott won, 10 times or 11 times into 85, but Waltrip still beat him because of consistency. And that's why Waltrip won 85, and that's why I mentioned that again. Bill Elliott won 11 times, but only 16 top 5s and 18 top 10s. Waltrip's top 5 and top 10 many more times.
I think you can honestly compare Johnson and Waltrip. Though I'm arguing against him being considered a legend. I mean, with Darrell Waltrip's career and Jimmie Johnson, they kind of draw parallels. They both started off early on, and they had some early success. Johnson was good in his early season. I think, didn't he win in his rookie season?
I think so. I think he won twice.
No, that's second season, I believe, or his official rookie season.
Yeah, he won 3 races in his rookie season, Jimmie Johnson.
Yeah.
Because the previous one, he just ran a limited schedule.
Yeah, that's why I didn't count. But yeah, he did.
You know who we should compare Johnson to? Norm Benning.
No. Let's stay on topic.
A little different.
Here.
I feel Norm Benning. Yeah, let's stay more on topic here with.
I think we should have a NASCussion about Norm Benning.
We could, but let's focus
on. It would be a 25-hour-long discussion about Norm Benning.
Yeah, but let's keep on this train of thought with Darrell Waltrip. I mean, they both had early success when they weren't regarded as much. Both of them won championships in close proximity, and both of them have had seasons where they've dominated a portion of the schedule.
And you look at it, without the chase, Johnson would have had 3 championships. Waltrip has 3 championships. When Waltrip got his 3rd championship, he was 38. Jimmie Johnson's 38. So
yeah, they actually started at the same age.
They're exactly even down to the wire. Because Johnson's never won 12 races, although he started off better. So it goes down to the wire between Waltrip and Johnson when you take out the chase.
How did Darrell Waltrip do in the Grand National Busch Series?
Let me check.
Because Johnson sucked. Johnson sucked in the Busch Series, but
13 wins, 40 top 5s, 53 top 10s, and that was a career that went from 82 to 95, and then one standalone race in 2006 that I don't remember for the life of me.
Yeah, so I think Johnson would beat Waltrip in that category because Johnson was better in Cup. No, Johnson was quicker to get better in Cup than he was in the Busch.
Darrell Waltrip was more successful.
I just think Johnson was a lot quicker.
Yeah, Jimmie Johnson's nationwide career, 1 win, 9 top 5s, 24 top 10s, 2 poles.
A murder at Watkins Glen.
I mean, I'm looking here. Darrell Waltrip won ARCA North. I mean, he's ran a lot more stuff to show. He still is barely better than Johnson, and I would have to put Waltrip over Johnson for now because of no chase, and the cars as well a little bit as well. Waltrip didn't exactly have that edge, especially in '85, and he still managed. Because we all know that Bill Elliott was unstoppable in '85, even though he wasn't consistent. Things like that, basically.
I think my final consensus for me is I feel like just Johnson has not had to deal with enough to be considered a legend. I feel these other drivers have stats that rival or exceed Johnson, and they did it in much harder times to do this.
With hard drivers, they did it with each other.
And there's a thing, how are you going to compare that when some of those drivers are either dead, retired, or suck now?
You look at Waltrip's career. Waltrip's career.
Yeah.
When you face these other drivers, they had to face all of the other competitors together. Johnson doesn't have as hard of competitors. Waltrip had to go through Dale Earnhardt, Richard Petty, David Pearson, all these other guys Jimmie Johnson doesn't have to go through. And that's what made it harder. There were so many other competitors that were such greats to now. Johnson doesn't have any of those besides Gordon.
Yeah, it could be just luck of the draw that he is in kind of an era where either he's on the team that has no rivals or really there isn't many other rival competitors for him.
Yeah.
And unless NASCAR makes it to where everybody has to be even, then that's never going to happen. That's the problem, that we can't compare greats if they were in different eras and different ways of equipment. It's just too different to just compare. That's why I think it's just comparing them, the idea of comparing Johnson and others, not because Johnson's worse, but because the fact that you would compare something that was completely different in different eras. I just think Just why would you compare something like that?
I feel there is a actual comparison here. It's not. I don't feel it's too different enough that there isn't a necessary comparison, because it is.
It's
cars
different
going
cars
around the track.
Different cars, different competition. It's just. I think it's just too different.
That's why the difference makes it easier to compare it, because you have to look at the equipment that Johnson's working with and his stats compared to the stats of people with inferior equipment by that standpoint. And those people in the inferior equipment against closer competition are still replicating Johnson's numbers when he's alone.
Or better.
I mean, do you think I know it's kind of stupid to bring up, but what if Senior was still driving when the chase came around and he won championships in the chase? Would people count him as those chases championships, even though without the chase, technically, he wouldn't have won? Yeah,
I don't think they would.
He was already kind of going downhill. But say if he did win a championship, because there is, if you look at every year of the chase calculated, guess who would have won the championship in like 2002 if there was a chase?
Like
Sterling Marlin.
Yeah, Sterling Marlin.
Oh, jeez.
You could say the same thing. You know, when Alan Cole won his championship, if they had chase, Kyle Petty would have won the damn championship.
Yeah, I mean, like, these are drivers that did not
That's
have
incredible.
especially great careers. I mean, Sterling Marlin was a Daytona wizard. That was mainly Marlin's shtick. He was Daytona wizard. And then
he was a Daytona winner and a
Kyle Petty was good when he was good.
Yeah, but Kyle Petty only has 9 wins.
He was good Petty was good for like 2 years, and then he started to suck.
But the thing is,
like all of a sudden, he just lost his talent. Went off.
That was the same going for John Andretti and many other drivers there, as you mentioned. Jerry Nadeau, Ron Hornaday. Well, he does good in trucks, but like in the Cup and nationwide, though, is what I'm saying. Brett Bodine, AJ Foyt. Those are just a few examples right there.
I wouldn't really. I think Johnson's better than those guys personally, but
yeah, because if you look at their stats, I mean, like we're not going here based on like if they did this, would they be good? It's more of look at their stats, and for that time, is that good stats? Like when we looked at Pearson, we didn't look at if he had ran the full. Well, we kind of did, but we said based on his part-time schedule, it's already beating Johnson's numbers just on a part-time schedule. So, I mean,
he never ran a full season.
Like, it would be hard to say with like drivers like, I don't know, like the Foyts or something, if they worked their way over here and actually ran like a long schedule, what they would do. You can only go by what their career is at the moment. That's the concrete information. And you could say maybe they could have done good, but they did not run enough for us to tell, so they don't really factor in. Pearson ran enough that he could be factored in, is the second highest winningest driver in NASCAR, and he ran partial schedules all of his career, with the exception of 2 years where he ran most of it. Maybe he couldn't make a couple because some races were on the same day.
And he still won the championship 3 times, even though he missed races.
Yeah.
I just hope that if Johnson gets these criticisms for Chase, and other drivers will get that same criticism as well.
Yeah, I would criticize all these drivers too. Like Stewart winning the chase. Like, I mean, his
Edwards won that? I thought Edwards won that.
I think Edwards might have won it.
So I guess Tony Stewart is only a 2-time champion then. All right, Case Gold. All right, just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, like I wouldn't consider it as highly. I don't know. I think Keselowski would have still won the championship for his year.
Yeah, I think so. So I just really hope Johnson won't be the only person who gets compared to that.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I would compare everyone with the chase. I just do not like this method of 10 races decides it.
Yeah. Well, then again, there's so much playoffs in almost every single sport in America.
Yeah, but I mean,
they just were trying to fit into the times.
It works better for those kinds of sports, though, because it's 2 teams facing each other, not accruing.
Yeah, but then you can get the criticisms. Points. Like, then you can get the criticisms. Like, for example, his personal example. Like, what? Okay, I don't think any of you watch hockey, but the LA Kings won their Stanley Cup in the worst seat possible. So does that mean the guys with 1 and 2 didn't deserve that championship? I mean, it's stuff like that. Playoffs suck anyway. Playoffs are like the worst invention in sports history. I like what other countries do, where they just decide who has like the most points at the end.
Yeah, I feel that's the fairest way to do it. But NASCAR did it because they wanted a little bit of extra excitement.
And it has worked.
It helped a little bit, but
It made things easier.
No. See, I like that change with the points, like what the point numbers are, because that makes actually sense. But all I feel the chase has done in terms of excitement is that it pushed the excitement of the final race to Richmond. That's really it.
Let's think about it. Well, I don't think anyone wants to watch a championship where the guy clinches it within like 2 or 6 races, and then no one's gonna watch. No one's gonna watch.
But how often has that happened?
Excited.
How often has that happened in recent history? Kansas. That was like the only time in the
only time.
No, before this chase, because that happened multiple times. Didn't Gordon clinch a freaking championship once? Like when it changed, I think he clinched it within like the last 3 races.
It was. I think it was. It must have been like '98. It was the year he had. That was his like really good year.
Yeah, so it's like
the other years, at least there was a battle for it, but it's not. It doesn't happen enough in recent time where I feel
it happened a good bit.
There's a need. Also, I feel the other thing is the reason that this chase can be run away with, like say a championship can be run away with, is because there's such a gap between top teams and low teams that a team can run away with it. Like a Johnson could run away with it.
Until they make all the car sit-ups equal, that's never gonna happen.
I'm not saying make them all equal, but I mean.
In fact, I think making them equal would actually make everything worse.
You know what I feel? I feel they just need to make a car that's more accessible to. Because I think the issue is that the lower teams cannot get the funding to build a car that's good enough, because these teams are already established.
And it's hard to get sponsorship when the economy sucks.
Yeah,
sorry.
Like, I think the main team killer is that these other established teams are just so much better than the other teams. Like, I feel like I read an article by Brock Beard, who does NASCAR.
I've heard of him.
And he said that he feels these Gen 6 cars, because they're higher priced than the previous years, really were just like killed these lower teams, especially stuff like I feel Finch Racing got kind of the shaft for it. A couple other teams, like there was a couple of teams, like I think Grant Enfinger was on a team, like either in like 2011 or 2012 or something. They attempted at the end of the year or something, but they really couldn't get a car funding for that. I mean, I'm not sure if that's the best example, but the best example I feel is James Finch.
Finch, man.
Finch is the shit, but yeah, you mentioned that too.
He just not enough money to save his life.
You know, he did get a little bit of money when Brad Keselowski won that Talladega race back in '09, and then after that, he just didn't get as much as money.
Was that Finch? I thought that was someone else.
No, that was Finch. That was James Finch with the '09 car.
Yep.
But if you think of it, the only tracks where these teams have a chance are
Daytona and Talladega.
Yeah, super speedways, Daytona and Talladega, equalizers.
David Reagan definitely win them.
What are the more exciting of the races of the year? The
Well,
equalizer.
it's no longer Daytona and Talladega.
Well, now it's just Talladega, because Daytona is just railroaded now with these new cars.
Well, sort of. I mean, they are fixing I think the problem, they just need to make these cars more passable.
But now I feel we're getting on the topic of the chase and the Gen 6 car. I think, unless anyone else has anything to add, I think we can wrap it up.
One more driver I would like to mention about comparing the Jimmie Johnson would be Cale Yarborough.
Oh yeah, Cale Yarborough, who got 3 in a row.
Yep, that's one reason, because Johnson got 5 in a row in the chase. Yarborough got 3 in a row without it. That's not the main reason what I'm looking at. Another consistency person. In fact, although the stats might be a little bit off in places, he did have an excuse. He started back in '57 at 18. He didn't race a lot. In fact, he didn't He didn't run a full schedule to '74, and he won 10 races that year. Until then, he never ran a full schedule from '57 to then. Unlike Pearson, he's not compared to Pearson and those guys, but I think like Waltrip, you can compare him to Johnson in a certain way because of how consistent he was, and when he wasn't not running full schedules, he was up there the entire time.
Yeah,
although that only lasted so long. But.
I think Johnson is a Yarbrough-ish driver.
Yeah.
We like to take this time to remind everybody in the comments, please keep it civil.
Yeah.
So what?
We do want to hear from you in the comments. We want to know your opinion, but
just
know these are our opinions, and we try to support ourselves with these. We're not just saying Johnson, he's terrible because he sucks. I mean, we're actually like trying to come up with actual statistics that we feel either are for or against him.
Yes.
So, please, if you do leave comments, let us know by that means.
Please keep it civil.
Yeah.
And at least try to understand other people's opinions.
Yeah, I mean,
try. I mean, you don't have to. I mean, you can be mad at them privately, but just, like, accept the fact. Just accept it. Just deal with it.
Yeah,
deal with
it.
Deal with it.
So, we got anything else, or can we wrap it up?
I'll wrap it up.
Yeah, we should wrap it up.
All right, so we'll each give our final statements. Here, I'll go first, and we'll go Silverfox, Johnson, and Young. I feel Johnson is a great driver. There's no doubts about it. He is a great driver, one of the best of this generation. But the issue is, he is not as good as a lot of these drivers from the past. Their stats in comparison to him, and in comparison with the times and the technology, they just crush him, in my opinion. Like, he still has a chance to be considered a legendary driver, but at the current moment, I feel he's on Yarbrough levels, where he isn't, like, a full-fledged legend, but he's considered, like, a really, like, influential person in the history of NASCAR. And on that note, I feel Johnson, not a legend, but a great. Silverfox?
Clear that throat, baby, yeah. But I just think people need to just deal with that Johnson is probably one of the greatest of all time, and I'm not saying that you can't despise him, I just think that people should just lay off the hate on him, accept that he's a good driver, possibly better than your driver. I just think just focus on your driver. If in fact the best way to get rid of Johnson is just not pay attention to him, because once people don't pay attention to him, he'll go away, just like pop stars. But either way, Johnson doesn't deserve his hate. I wish people would just at least give him some kind of respect more. And YOLO.
Okay, Johnson.
I mean, I don't get why people would hate on Johnson.
Because people hate winners.
Well, I mean, you look at all these greats of the past. Although it's a different fan base now, but although the stats are different, the odds are different, everything in that way. The hate, although Darrell Waltrip was hated incredibly for a while, but there was a good reason for that.
It's like if you have a personality, you're immediately hated.
The fact that when you look at the deal, you can't really just hate on Johnson just because he's successful if you really don't know how he really personally is. And that's a main reason why a lot of people don't like Johnson. They don't know his personality so well. Not many people really know how Johnson acts. But I think people should respect Johnson for what he's doing. He might not be a legend yet, although people might get mad at people for saying this. That's just fact. But he's definitely a great driver, although people are not a fan of Johnson winning all the time. they're tired of it, but you still gotta respect the guy as a driver, and I'm sure many of you do, but people just don't know that to an extent. So, really isn't too much to hate about Johnson. I mean, one of the best of the era. He's just not one of the best yet. I mean, his career is still got to be foretold into the future. Just too soon to say.
All right, and Dylan?
I'm gonna say it's the honesty of me though, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I can totally agree. Johnson's a hell of a driver. I can see that. I can see why, as a Johnson hater, why he wins too much and all that kind of deal, but I don't see him as a legend. Just wait till he gets to double digits, because it's the chase. It's only 10 races. It's not like this is a full 36 race season, so that's where I don't see Johnson doing that. But basically, go Gordon. Gordon over Johnson.
All right, so we'll end it there. This has been the NASCussion. If you have your own opinions on this matter, leave them in the comment section below. But be civil with that, as we've been saying.
Hashtag Gordon over Johnson.
Yeah, don't be shouting stuff like that.
Oh God.
We got one on the last video, which was hilarious, of just
Dillon
someone that just absolutely despised like Austin Dillon, was like
Dillon,
I mean, no offense to you if you're watching it again. It's just that I would prefer a little more support of that claim of instead of just shouting silver spoons. But
got his spoon in his mouth.
But instead of
apply directly to where it hurts.
All right, so yeah, leave your opinions below. If you want to be a part of the NASCussion, we're always open to people who want to debate, as long as you do so intelligently. Also, we're also interested in topics. If you have some topic that you want us to cover, but maybe you don't want to get behind the mic yourself, leave it down below. We'll definitely consider discussing it. We try to release one of these once a week. So, from us here, from the NASCussion, I would like to bid you all adieu. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye, losers.
See ya.